Dad, 62, flew me halfway across the country to meet his mistress, 50 plus, and her 3 children, who I didn't know of until minutes before meeting them. I am a female in my mid-20s, originally from California, wrapping up a summer internship on the East Coast, having the time of my life. I planned on having one last adventure in the city during my last weekend before returning home this Saturday, until my dad decided to fly me out halfway across the country to visit him where he works. Backstory: my parents, who've been married for just over 30 years, are hard-working individuals and have raised us well. Much of the credit towards achieving the American dream goes to my mom for flying halfway across the world away from their native country to land a job in the US, where my dad and 2 older siblings, who were toddlers at the time, eventually joined. After years of working up the corporate ladder, we've been living a comfortable upper-middle-class lifestyle in California. Everything looks fine on the outside. I'm the youngest of 3 and am extremely close to my dad, primarily because my mom, although very loving, has the tendency to nag and micromanage like crazy, a side of her my dad says caused them to grow apart over the years. Because of this, he was quick to accept a job offer out of state 6 years ago. A couple years before this, my mom suspected him of infidelity when she saw him frantically closing out tabs on the computer when entering their bedroom, to the point of locking the door and demanding he fessed up, to which he adamantly denied. Since then, they've continued as normal. There was an incident in 2010 when my sister was in Vegas and Dad was in Phoenix on business, until she saw him strolling along at Caesar's Palace with a younger and older woman, presumably the mother. When she confronted him about it a week later, he vehemently denied anything was going on and that the woman was just a friend/co-worker. Since moving out of state for work, his weekend visits became so sparse to the point where he barely comes every month, usually on Saturdays, and leaves early Sunday mornings. Mom is under the impression this is all temporary and he'll be back permanently in due time, despite recently accepting another job offer in a different state, much further away, in the middle of the country. He admitted to me that he is much happier with his freedom, never having to report to her what time he's coming home, what he's up to, etc., and that he no longer loves my mom. She waits on him hand and foot when he actually is around, while he treats her as a roommate. My siblings and I suspected him of dating other women/having second families with them because he was never short on excuses of why we couldn't just fly up and visit him, why he couldn't make it to my older sister's wedding, etc. Meanwhile, my gut feeling all these years have pointed to him having affairs, but hoping he had stopped while I maintained distance from involvement. I tend to give him the benefit of the doubt because of how close we are, but this weekend took the cake. I assumed I would fly out to where he resides for work, anticipating a weekend of bonding time and sightseeing. When we met at the airport, he said, "We're going to meet some friends of mine, but don't judge." My stomach dropped. Don't judge? I joked with my fiancé days ago about this, but assumed he wouldn't pull such a heavy stunt. But there we were, driving to the other woman's house. I met someone, and we'll be staying with her. She has 3 kids, 2 of which are teenagers. What the poop? I couldn't stomach this clusterfuck, and to top it off, I knew I was going to be forced into being social with a family of strangers I don't even approve of. I flew into bumduck Egypt for this. After the awkward introduction, we all went out to lunch in the city, where there was continued awkwardness on the way there with forced dialogue. Eyes throw away toe, "Why are you so quiet?" It made me sick hearing this other woman say poop like, "Baby, do you need cash for parking? Are you okay, honey?" While walking to the restaurant, my dad had the nerve to tell me to hold the 10-year-old girl's hand while we crossed the street. I pretended not to hear him, but he kept insisting. Duck that, because who are these damn people? I was even more annoyed when we were alone at one point, and he told me to talk more so that they get used to it. No thanks. I refuse to play the big sister role to a bunch of strangers whose existence I just discovered an hour prior and act as if I condone your behavior. We walked to a nearby historical monument, where I was forced to take pictures with this family. Smile, eyes throw away. I found it weird the way he interacted with the kids, like he was trying too hard to tolerate them as a way of getting close to their mother. The little girl was trying to point something out at the monument, but my dad kept brushing her off with, "Oh, okay, nice," just to shut her up. When my dad got up to use the restroom, I asked how they met. Online. He was just so funny and we FaceTimed before meeting. It felt so ducked up hearing this lady gushing over my dad, who by the way, was no longer wearing his wedding ring. We went back to the house with the intent to rest before dinner, and I was told I'd be staying in the little girl's room. Thinking I'd finally have a private moment to myself, I walked in only to see that the girl wasn't going to leave. She sat in a chair in the corner playing games on a phone, while I was expected to nap/rest in her presence. I stepped outside to have a panicked phone call with my fiancé about all the awkwardness before mustering up the courage to talk to my dad. When I came back inside, I heard my dad call my name and followed his voice down the hallway, only to enter the bedroom of the other woman, where I saw them lying beside one another. "Is everything okay? Take a nap before we go out to dinner." "Yeah, no. Dad, can I have a word with you real quick?" I took him outside and told him how shocked I was being brought out here to encounter something I so strongly disapprove of, and his only reactions were to nod, tell me he understands, and say, "Okay. We'll leave early tomorrow morning then, before the flight home." He went back to the room to nap, and I felt like I was brushed off. I needed an exit plan quick, and neither Lyft nor Uber operate in this city. Duck. I managed to find a cheap hotel deal for one night close to the airport and a taxi app, hoping the cab came quickly enough for me to sneak out. Just as it pulled up to the house, I grabbed my stuff, tiptoed to the front door thinking I was clear, and heard the lady from the kitchen say, "Is everything okay?" Yeah, this was great. But I got to go. I sit in the back of the cab, and just as I was about to pull up the address to the hotel, the cab driver told me to look up, and I see my dad, eyes bloodshot, stifling tears. "Where are you going? Why are you leaving?" When I told him the situation made me uncomfortable to the point of getting a hotel room, he apologized to the cab driver and paid him cash, insisting he would take me instead. When we had a moment in the driveway, I echoed my previous sentiments of not wanting to be culpable in this mess. "Yeah, we should have gotten you a hotel room in the first place." No. You should have never brought me out here, ever. I knew you'd be shocked, but I was hoping you'd understand. WTF. He was extremely apologetic on the drive to the hotel, saying he ruined my weekend. After he walked me to my room, we had a serious talk, and I told him he needs to fix this before poop really hits the fan. I insisted they continue with their dinner reservation without me, and he told me that it was for me, and that they would no longer be going. He ended the conversation with, "It would make me really happy to see you and have dinner with you tonight, it's up to you. Text me, regardless of what you choose." Come 7 p.m., I was torn between even seeing him again or going across the street to TGI Fridays for buffalo wings, but I wanted to give him another chance. I told him, "I would like to have dinner with you, if and only if it is only you and me." Assuming he'd pick me up for a father/daughter dinner date, he said, "I will bring you noodle stir fry, honey." I chilled in my hotel room, waiting, and telling my two older siblings about this ordeal, who were concerned with my safety and well-being. After about 2 hours, I told him not to come by anymore and that I'd take care of myself. "But I have food for you, do you want me to bring it? Cancel your order." "Okay, fine." Feeling guilty of rejecting him, I waited another hour. 10:15 p.m. and he finally came by with what looked to be leftovers or takeout. I was angry at myself for being so forgiving when I was merely an afterthought while he was out treating his other family. The following morning, when he dropped me off to the airport, he said, "I'm sorry this trip did not meet your expectations." Well, no poop, you dropped a huge bomb on me. Here's the problem, my mom has no idea any of this is going on. I fly back home in California this Saturday, my dad plans on flying in, too. I was under the impression this would be the weekend he'd fess up, but he volunteered to help my older brother and his wife and baby move into their new apartment. My guess is he plans on coming clean to the family later in the weekend, if at all. My older siblings want to break the news to my mom either Friday or Saturday, likely before I arrive since my flight lands later afternoon. I'm grappling between even telling her because I'm trying to keep my distance from their marriage, but I feel it became my business from having involuntarily witnessed evidence of the affair firsthand. The fact that my mom can be a highly volatile person and my potential absence to help handle this as a family makes me uneasy and almost not looking forward to coming home. On top of all this, I begin school next Monday. So, the worst it's still yet to come, because my mom's reaction will be scary. Our rationale is that it would be better to brief mom on this to not only save ourselves from potential backlash, if you knew, why didn't you tell me? But so that she doesn't feel completely alone in all this. If they knew and didn't tell me, who else could I trust? My siblings have villainized the other woman, but I can't help but feel horrible for her. She thinks she is dating an honest man who is divorced and good to her children, and seemed excited to finally meet me because my dad often boasts about me. I can't rid myself of the guilt plus feeling like I betrayed my dad's trust, despite him betraying the trust of the entire family. I'm really sorry this was long, but I'm panicking and I need insight. What is the best way to approach this while minimizing damage? What I really fear is my mom's volatility and her taking it out on us, especially me, having been a witness, and not telling her immediately. Too long, didn't read. Dad has been working out of state for 5 years and has had a couple affairs while mom has been at home, working, and totally oblivious. He flew me out halfway across the country to hang out with him before I finished my summer internship on the East Coast, and I was under the impression it'd just be the two of us chillin', until he introduced me to his mistress and her 3 children and didn't tell me about until minutes before meeting them. Hashtag update, the 9th of February 2015. Mom quit her high-paying job to invest herself in a business while I was away for the summer. Even before this, my dad has always been in charge of most of the finance while mom has been stashing away in savings. He pays the cars, mortgage, etc. Older sister spoke to dad a couple days ago and his words were, "You know how your mom will react. If she ever disrespects me, I will stop paying the mortgage, the cars, the phone bill. And if you say something, I will disown you and never come back," as if that's any different than what's going on now. Before telling her, "I already hate that this is being stalled, we are going to seek legal advice in order to protect my mom the best way possible." In the heat of the moment, it's easy to want to spill the beans, but that will result in very dire financial consequences for mom.
Hey guys, please like, comment, and subscribe. It would really help me out, thanks.
Holy poop, he has balls, I'll give you that. Pull him aside and tell him, either you tell mom or I'm going to and set a hard deadline. If not, he's just going to keep doing this to your mother and putting your family into awkward positions. Did your sister tell your mother about the time that she saw him, or did she just confront him? Because if she didn't tell your mom, your sister's silence was permission to him that he could get away with it. Me, 19F, with my boyfriend, 18M, 3 years, I saw him getting a mouth romance from my friend, 19F, and I'm broken. Me and my boyfriend, Matt, have been together for 3 years and he didn't seem like the guy to cheat. He's always been so sweet and caring and supportive, and I thought we'd spend our life together. My friend, Trish, has been my best friend for 6 years and I always called her my sister. She's helped me through so much and I never thought she'd betray me like this, and I feel so disgusted. The 3 of us went to a party and mingled for a bit because some old friends were there. Trish separated from us and a little while later so did my boyfriend, but I didn't think much of it. 10 minutes went by, so I went to go find them. After wandering around I found Trish. She was in a wooded area but I could see her head bobbing back and forth. I figured she was with a guy until I heard him say "Oh fuck baby," and my heart sunk. I ripped those ducking bushes open and it was both of them. She even looked at me in the eyes with his thing still in her mouth. How could they ducking do this to me? I've been in my apartment crying for the past few hours and thinking about that image. They've both called me hundreds of times and left hundreds of texts apologizing and asking to talk. What do I do now? I trusted them both with my life. I considered her family and so did my family. Too long, didn't read. I caught my friend giving my boyfriend a mouth romance and I'm devastated. Please help me. They've both called me hundreds of times and left hundreds of texts apologizing and asking to talk. Don't talk. There is no excuse for their behavior. They're just going to try to convince you that it was alcohol, or a mistake, or whatever. They put their own gratification above your feelings. They really hurt you. Don't let either one of them do it again. No contact. Your silence is the worst revenge you can give. Completely delete them from your life. If you run into them, pretend they're strangers.